Hello, welcome to Trust Your Glitter podcast. This is Christy, and this is the astrological vibe, we'll say vibe, for this incredible Halloween, Samhain, Witches New Year, Dia de los Muertos, All Souls, All Saints Day week. So our veils are so thin, and I'm going to be covering today, the 29th of October, through November 5th. So today, we are rocking a conjunction between Mercury and Mars in Scorpio. I would say this is a doorway. This is the doorway. This is the conjunction. The energy aligns between communication from the underworld in Scorpio and Mars, which is our action planet. And we are all about Halloween right now. Yesterday's lunar eclipse in Taurus was a big deal. I don't know if you felt it or had some ritual time with her, but she was a really beautiful, sacred goddess energy. And there were a lot of messages and downloads, and we are heading out of a long cycle. So we're not going to see this for like 18 to 20 years. And the last time we saw this was in 2004, 2005 area. This lunar cycle closing this week is also kind of symbolic of the fact that we are in the death realms right now. We are appreciating our ancestors. We are appreciating those that came before us. And if you are sensitive, if you do see spirits, feel spirits, hear spirits, this is a time when the generational doors are open and these energies are around us all. So in some way, this week I would recommend paying respect to those who have crossed, to those who are around us, and the stories that we are seeing in the collective. When it comes to the astrology this week, with this Mars-Mercury conjunction, it does set the tone. So there's big news that does come through. And in the larger scale, we're seeing big news on a mainstream scale and then through the collective. So I'll keep it there. I have a peace candle lit. We're going to see a lot of shifts as we head into 2025. So a lot of this energy isn't done. So when it comes to October, the end of October, as we head into November, on the 31st, with this big Halloween, which is New Year's, Samhain energy, we have Venus trine Uranus. Now, I think it's very symbolic of trick or treat, because here's Uranus, that trickster. We open up the week with the trickster Mercury, and the treat is Venus trine. So it's like, yes, own your unique style. Own your unique self. Venus is in Virgo. She is in the spotlight later in the week, and we'll get to that. And Venus being the beautiful planet of love. So in many ways, again, working with our creativity through a very loving way is exactly what is being asked of us this Halloween. And I love it. I'm here for it. We're all here for it. November 1st, welcome to November. We're going to revisit some quincunxes with Chiron. And I think it's also symbolic because next year we're going to have a very Chiron-tastic eclipse cycle. I was thinking to myself, last week we had quincunxes with Chiron. We saw this happen. And this week we have Mercury at 16 degrees Scorpio, quincunx Chiron in Aries, who's retrograde at 16 degrees. This means that we are refacing wound cycles, but Scorpio season in general is facing the trauma, those generational patterns, and taking emotions into the really deep mud. So right now, with Mercury saying, hey, let's speak this trauma out, and Chiron in retrograde still kind of giving us that wounded healer, your trauma is your gift to the world. It is your healing gift. It is why you are here. We are all here right now to help each other heal collective trauma and transmute from this, especially right now, especially this week when we are experiencing the depths of this otherworldly energy. November 2nd is Sun in Scorpio sesquiquadrate in kind of a tense formation and a tense connection with Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So we also saw sesquiquadrates last week. We saw this tension with our dream and how we have to still go into a very therapeutic realm. This is a great week for therapy, group therapy, however you do therapy, doing you in a healthier way, because Scorpio actually wants us to rise from the ashes. It doesn't want us to get stuck in old patterns. And I think it's also interesting that on the 2nd, Vesta retrograde, so Vesta, the asteroid of home and hearth, goes retrograde through the sign of Cancer, who is an asteroid that really represents that warm home, and Cancer representing the mother ruled by the moon. It's interesting, mother wounds might be out later in the week for us all. We might be really looking at patterning, especially as we're leaving a grounding eclipse cycle. It gave us this structure towards our inner wounding. So there's a plan for us if we look at it. If you have not created some sort of plan for yourself, and I'm not talking about career, I'm talking about really taking care of your body, really honoring yourself as a sacred vessel. So the 1st through the 5th are big days to circle. So the entire week, we're going to feel that ancestral energy tug at us. You might even have hair stand up, paranormal experiences. So as you're walking down the hall or anywhere you are at, you might even feel it off of other people when you're at the grocery store. It's that week where we can really celebrate our connection to the other side. But the 1st through the 5th give us a lot of homework. And I want to talk about that because on the 3rd, it's a very strong day with Venus. So earlier in the week, Halloween, we had a nice trine with Uranus, trick or treat, all these allowances for us to just be in this force of life. And the 3rd, Venus has some very, very stern connections. So there's an opposition to Neptune with Venus on the 3rd. Neptune is in retrograde. So Neptune in Pisces opposing Venus in Virgo, 25 degrees, is kind of like the perfectionist meets that person who's kind of carefree. And even though we had trines with Uranus, there is a self-reflective, almost aware of what you're embarrassed of with this opposition. And Venus is also sesquiquadrate Jupiter on the 3rd. So there is a tense aspect between the planet of love, creativity, romance, and Jupiter, who wants to expand us spiritually. And the other aspect Venus has on this day is a conjunct, so also an intense aspect with the North Node in Aries. So it's interesting. I would really want to circle this on what in the hell is actually going to go on politically on the 3rd. And I'm very interested to see what that has in store for us. On this side of the world, the 3rd is a Friday, which is ruled by Venus. I'm just very interested to see the highlight of culture, news, politics between the 2nd and 3rd of November. And on the 4th of November, circle this day, big day. Mr. Saturn, big guy in the sky, Lord Karma, he's going direct. So with Mr. Lord Karma, all direct, 0 degrees Pisces, he has been retrograde from June 17th all the way till November 4th. He did enter the sign of Pisces on March 7th, entered his retrograde shadow March 11th, and will not be leaving the shadow, finding 13 degrees Pisces until the 7th of February of 2024. So I recorded a longer episode for my Spotify. I actually have a longer version of my explanation of Saturn. So if you want to hear a longer version of this, hop on over to Spotify. I have a full podcast over there, and this is the YouTube version. But I just want to say, as Saturn goes direct, this does move a lot of stories forward. And the ocean is very deep. The wells of the ocean are deep. The currents of the ocean are deep. And I'm looking at this as currents in political culture. So I'm just going to keep it there. Let's take a peek at what happens later in this week on a grand scale politically. Because Saturn in Pisces is a very compassionate father. Saturn does represent the father. And in this area, I'm looking at this from the United States perspective. The United States is going through a Pluto return in Capricorn. Capricorn is Saturn ruled. So there's a lot of things answering to things. There's a lot of connections. There's a whole puzzle being put together here. And with Saturn going direct, this is a pretty important puzzle. This is one of the main puzzle pieces to put it all together. So, from November through February, we've got a lot of developments on a global scale going on. In your personal life, this has to do with really leaning in to your spiritual dream and making it tangible. That's an exceptional reality as Saturn goes forward through Pisces. So aspect-wise, on the 5th, Mars is also quincunx Chiron. Mars in Scorpio, quincunx Chiron. So we saw this on the 1st. Now we're seeing this with Mars on the 5th. And Mercury and Mars have been moving neck and neck for the last few days. Mars makes this aspect to Chiron, so there is tension. Again, I want to see what's going on globally in your life. This means that there has to be action. There's no going back to the past. And there could be some drama in your life that you're going to have to visit on the 5th and really have to make a concerted decision based on what you know, based on what the eclipse has revealed. The other thing is Jupiter is semi-square to Neptune. Very active week with these planets. And Jupiter is at 10 degrees Taurus in a semi-square to 25 degrees Pisces, Neptune retrograde. What this means for you is, again, we're working on spiritual dreams here. The knowledge we have. I will say this from a personal scale. I record a spiritual podcast. I am not a perfect person. The tension I have every time I hit record is getting through imposter syndrome. The way I want to put it is, I know that I have a responsibility when I record this podcast to be the healthiest I can be in the moment I'm in. However, then you turn another door. Then you go around another bend and you're like, oh, I need to face this. Oh, I need to face this. Oh, this was a disillusion here. This could be something that comes through on the 5th of November for a lot of people, especially because the last quarter moon in Leo is a reflective moon. So I wrote this as a note. Having an internal heart to heart. Leo is ruled by the pulmonary system, our spiritual heart, and yet Leo is a kind of like, hey, what's up, everybody? Let's connect. Let's talk. Let's be big. Let's be in our big expressive energy. So there's a little fight or flight here, I would say. There's a little bit of like, I don't know if I can mask this piece of myself anymore. So whether it's, you really want to do something, but you're at this like, oh, I need to please this person, or I need to please this system. There's a lot of that going on the 5th. So I have some reflection questions that go with this last quarter waning moon in Leo. So we're looking at this from the perspective of that October 14th Libra new moon eclipse. my question to you, what was happening in your life at that time? What goals did you set? The eclipses did their thing. You might have had goals, but the magnetism of that Libra energy was like, this is what relationships are like in your life right now. This is what a past relationship taught you. This is what your reflection energy is at this time. This is the present. Now it's time to shift. So now this question is, we came through this full moon. What did you want to see manifest at that time, October 14th? What desires, intentions, circumstances were going on? And what external circumstances, what external factors shifted this lesson for you? So now, in the present, here's some moon questions, journal prompts, however you want to work with this. The first one is, are you still moving towards this goal? And if it's a yes, what is still needed? If it's a no, what in the fuck shifted for you? What information came through? Did you get an email? Do you have a creaky door? What's going on what creaky door is in your life? And this could be internal, external situations. And it is something that reflects your goals. And the other thing is, the final question is, what needs to be adjusted? What needs to be reviewed? And this is something this quarter moon is going to help, because as we go into the new moon, which is going to be in Scorpio, we're able to do our rituals. We're able to do our manifesting rituals with this particular new moon. So we're getting a lot of intel this week. We're getting a lot of information, and it could feel like you're caught in the middle because you are energetically. There's a lot. Venus went through a lot this week. Mars went through a lot this week. Mercury's clipping along. We're kind of in this horse race. I know it's not Sagittarius season, but we're kind of in this energetic race right now, where it's like, this planet's going here, this planet's going here, this planet's connecting tensely to this one, this asteroid is still retrograde. We've got a lot of stuff. And then we have spirit guides trying to send us messages from the ethers saying, hey, just to let you know, this is a lineage cycle and you're here to break that shit. So I hope that this podcast helped today. It's kind of interesting because on YouTube, I have to keep my time really short, and I was going to use the longer audio, and something in me said, record something completely separate on YouTube and just let it be. So I'm just letting it be. But I just want to say thank you for listening to Trust Your Glitter. My name is Christy Belich. You can find me on all social media. I'm still going to be doing 10% off all bookings for the rest of Scorpio season, and I might be doing it for the rest of 2023. I'm going to decide. But if you want to book with me, I am on Linktree, and that is Trust Your Glitter on Linktree. All of my bookings are right there on the front page, and you can book with me right there. I have readings from 3-card readings for 11/11 up to longer phone readings. So just go on ahead, go over to Trust Your Glitter at Linktree, and I'd love to work with you. Have a great week ahead. Happy Halloween, happy Dia de los Muertos, happy All Saints Day, happy Veils Thin, which is New Year. Samhain. Take care.